Hi, so this is the second video in a series of 5 on narcissistic behaviour, and this one is about the subtle signs that you're in a narcissistic relationship. So my name's Rick Cardwell. I'm a psychodynamic counsellor and a therapist, and I have a lot of experience in dealing with narcissistic relationships in therapy. So in the last video, we talked about how narcissism isn't obvious. Kind of a silly thing to say, really, because if narcissism was obvious, nobody would go into a narcissistic relationship. But narcissists are very, very clever, very manipulative, very subtle about the way they go about drawing people into relationships. So, how does it actually show up in relationships? Well, relationships usually don't start badly. In fact, it often starts really well. Chemistry, fireworks, agreeable, no problems, that kind of sense of being drawn into this emotional place of everything feels good and everything's perfect. You might feel chosen, special, even idealized. This is something called the love bombing phase, where attention, affection, and intensity come really quickly. But then things start to shift, not all at once, but gradually. Now, you may notice in the early stages of a narcissistic relationship some obvious kind of signs that are really inherent in all narcissistic relationships when they start. Now, this is after a short time. You've got the love bombing phase that's gone on, and then what you might notice is that the compliments are turning into subtle criticisms. That jokes don't quite feel like jokes. Moments where your needs feel inconvenient. But one of the biggest signs is you start adjusting yourself. You start to change and you start to modify your behaviour to suit the relationship. You think more carefully before speaking. You try to avoid upsetting them, kind of walking around on eggshells. You begin managing their emotions more than your own. You start to live your life around their emotions and feelings. You're not taking care of yourself now. You're sucked into this state where you want to accommodate the narcissist's behaviours. And it becomes less about being yourself and more about keeping the peace for keeping the peace's sake. Here's the key part. You may still feel attached, even as things become more uncomfortable. Because those early moments, the warmth, the connection, they don't disappear completely. They may only become now a percentage of the relationship, and maybe not the huge percentage of the relationship, maybe they're a minor part of the relationship. But those early moments, they keep us connected. They don't disappear altogether. They come back just often enough to keep you invested. And this creates something very powerful, emotional inconsistency. Now, in the next video, we're going to explore exactly how that works and why it can make narcissistic relationships so hard to leave. So again, thanks for watching. If you can subscribe or like this video, that would be really helpful. And I'll be back with the third of this series of 5 to add to this one, to just give you a little bit more insight as to why narcissistic relationships are so difficult to leave. So thanks for watching.